Hey everyone, welcome to the West York Entrepreneur Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another episode as we interview business owners across Western New York, locally here, picking their brain on entrepreneurship and then sharing their journeys and what we're doing. Before we actually dive into our today's guest, I just wanted to first say thank you, and number two, say thank you to you, the listener, but also say thank you to Incept Marketing, who allows us to use their studio to record these podcasts. As you may have seen in the video, they have an awesome studio here. It's soundproof. They have great technology. They allow to use it. That's not my forte here. So a huge shout out to them and what they do and allowing us to use this space. We appreciate you guys. Today's guest, we have Joe Klem. Joe is the owner of Joe's Movers, which is based in Rochester, even though they do a lot of work here in Buffalo. Joe and I have got a chance to know each other really the past, I would say, 3 to 4 months, and I asked him to come on the show. So, Joe, thanks for joining us today, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, of course.
It's my 4th time in Buffalo this week.
Yeah, so I was like, hey, man, welcome to the 716. He goes, this is my 4th time, and I'm coming back like tomorrow, I think. Yeah. So, welcome back and welcome tomorrow again. But Joe, for those that don't know you, man, tell us a little about your background. Like, what did you do before you owned the moving company? What made you start one? What made you get into it? Did you work for one? This is actually something I don't think we've really talked too much in depth before, so I'm actually curious about it.
Yeah, so I've never had a job. I've never had like a real job, like where you submit an application or a resume, and someone, you get hired and you're working for a manager. I basically graduated high school in 2014. I started going to MCC, in Rochester, Monroe Community College, and I was helping. I've always been hustling, basically, since I was in high school, and after I graduated, I was working for, or helping a construction guy, like as an assistant, a small construction outfit, and then also helping this mostly retired car sales guy. Basically help him. He was mostly retired, so only a few cars a week I think he sold, but I'd go to the auctions with him, and he was kind of showing me the business. When I was helping as an assistant for the construction guy, he was having me collect leads off of Thumbtack, and basically I saw that on Thumbtack you could offer moving services, and it was Thumbtack was like advertised everywhere. It had just gotten an investment from Google, so it was everywhere, but there was no service providers on there. So I was like one of 2 movers, calling myself a mover. I wasn't really a mover at the time. I just, thought it would be an easy way to make money. And so that was my first job. I just made a profile, bought a lead for like $15. I moved an art studio for a lady in Rochester. And,
with your own vehicle?
No, I went. You can rent a truck when you're 18 at U-Haul.
Okay. You
can't rent a car at a regular car rental place, but you can rent a huge truck when you're 18 years old, and that's what I did. So I think the rental was like $80. The lead was $15. I picked up a helper that was helping me, or that was helping the construction guy, and I did the job, and that was basically the first 2 years was just that.
Yeah, just kind of doing it when it kind of came up.
And that was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it feel like this yesterday?
No.
It feels like 9 years. Sometimes I really feel like I maximize these 9 years, so it feels like 9 years.
It depends on the memories, I think, because there's been a lot that's happened since then, but yeah.
So, man. So obviously after 2 years, you really dove in, I have to imagine, just because the leads are coming in, obviously word of mouth, things have kind of started growing. And so what did you take it from there?
Yeah, so I dropped out of school. My dad was not happy with me. He told me it was a stupid idea, and moving. What are you? That's hard work. Why you don't want to do that? And he was right. It was hard work, but I like to do hard work. So, that I knew I wanted to own a business. And another thing too, I did learn something from MCC because I had a business teacher that first year, Mr. Petit. I've tried to find him since then. He doesn't teach there anymore, I don't think, and I couldn't find his contact information, but he would also do consulting on the side for small businesses. And it was like an entrepreneurship 101 or like business 101 class. And he gave a story of how he helped a pizza shop go from unprofitable to profitable, literally by just moving their sign from under the awning to on top of the awning. And when I heard that story, I was like, so a real business that someone owns that's making real money went from unprofitable to profitable by a simple decision like that. And I just thought,
So I
can
think
make
you might have
decisions.
realized then, like, this epiphany of like, this isn't as complicated as it needs to be.
Yeah, I thought I can make a decision like that, and but in hindsight, it's business is a lot of simple decisions, so it's like thousands of simple decisions, which then makes it very complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's cool. So where are you at today, man? So how many? Just for those that don't know you, Joe, like how many employees? I know it differs because of the moving company. Some months are bigger than others. But where are you at today, present day?
Yeah, so I'd say 4 years in, about 4 years in, I hired someone to take the phone, and I went from 2 trucks to on our busiest days running like 6 trucks.
Yeah.
And that was like 5 years in, and we've kind of plateaued since then. But
Yeah.
I've maybe grown a little bit, but just focusing on efficiency really, because
How many movers per truck do you have to do
yes.
on?
So it depends. I'd say peak season, summertime, summer months, we can have between full-time and part-time guys, like even like 30, or 20 something. But core guys, guys that we keep working all year round, I'd say 10.
10.
It's how it's been, I think, the past year or two. Like on the slowest months, that's what we're doing. So.
Yeah, man. So obviously you built this, and I mean, I know you're not going to say. I'm going to say you built this little empire a little bit, which is really cool. And obviously, I'm sure Dad is super proud of you now. And if not, he's just not admitting it. And which dads can be that way sometimes. It's fine, right? We got to make you earn it.
Yeah, no, he doesn't say anything to me directly necessarily, but other people tell me, "Oh, your dad was saying your praises the other day." He was or like my stepmom will tell me what he told one of his friends or something. So he doesn't say it to me directly, but
we know dads are, right?
Yeah.
So one of my things I love saying the most, and like everybody has their sayings. They may have too many of them, but like you can't hurt me. I used to hold the flashlight for my dad, right? So same thing with you. Like dads are interesting, but anyways, man. So obviously now that you're removed from like the day-to-day things, like what's a typical day look like for an owner of a moving company with crews going out, busy season? Are you just more of just putting out any fires, or?
Yeah, I'd say busy season, I am working in the operations every single day.
Yeah.
When it's slow, I don't have to, and I can focus on planning and growth and systems or whatever the business needs. And I wish I could do that all year, and maybe someday or I know someday I will be at that point. But yeah, right now it's like I'm running around, I'm talking to customers, I'm going making sure the guys, especially on bigger jobs, if we have larger jobs, or high end jobs, I have to make sure I show up, because there's a lot of moving parts, and
no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
And so there's a lot of work to do.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, like, that being said, I was really excited to ask this question because when people are hiring a moving company, I got an answer. There's naturally nerves. These are my things. Like, things are very important to them, right? Like, whether it's things that are very fragile to like, this is my mom's, whatever. What's this say, ring or wedding gown? I don't want to lose this. I don't want things to get dirty. So, like, what advice do you have for people actually hiring a moving company? What questions that you think they should ask so they legitimately know, like, they're like going to do what they say they're going to do?
Yeah. I would say,
or no, they're not getting screwed on prices. Maybe is another way to put it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd say of the basic stuff. Make sure you're getting a couple quotes, and look at the reviews definitely, because that's a big thing, and it's something we focus on a lot. But also, I'd say number one, give me a call. But number two, if say you're in even in a different city, and you need to hire a moving company, I would find someone who moves a lot, or who just someone who's moved recently, and get a referral from them. If a moving company knows it's coming from a referral, I think they're going to give more attention to it. And then also, tell the moving company when you're getting estimates, tell them this, the specifics, of these items are more important. I'm going to be doing, I'll be taking this apart because I know it's complicated. You don't have to take that apart, or we'll be moving these things the week before, all those details. As many details as you can give them, because they need to. They're going to give you a quote based on that, and if they're not giving you a quote that's like very specific to you, then that could be a red flag. It doesn't mean they're not necessarily going to do a good job, because you could have some really good guys that show up and know what they're doing no matter what they run into. But for example, when we do estimates, we're making notes, and that's a big selling point too. When someone knows that I'm in their house making notes about their specific things that are there or issues that we might run into.
They're tailored, yeah.
It's a lot of companies don't do that, and if they do, then that you have people behind the company that are putting extra effort in. So if they're asking you questions, so if they're asking you more questions, then that they're actually giving a shit, and they're going to do a good job. But because a lot of times you'll call a company, they'll say, how big is the place? Oh, 3-bedroom house. Okay. Oh, it'll be probably between this and this. And do you want to book the job?
Yeah, you got to ask for the order, right?
But
that's cool. I was always wondering, because I'm sitting here going, like, a lot of times when I'm doing something for the first time, right, I just like to know, like, what do I need to know that I'm going to wish I would have known or asked or said later, right? Like when you're buying a house, you're like, oh, I didn't know I needed to do this, or I shouldn't have done that, or I moving this forward, or oh, if I do it again, I would probably do this. So I always like to ask people who are in that grind, like, well, make sure you do this and make sure you ask this, because if they don't answer this right, that means this. So I always love to ask those questions with people within, really, no matter what category we have on the show, Joe. So anything else come to mind before I ask my next question?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Questions to ask a moving company. Because I'm on my end. I'm just always thinking from my perspective of the questions.
You're not a customer normally.
Yeah, the questions I'm asking them.
Maybe what is the most frequently asked question you get besides what's the price?
Well, here. Let me say this one thing is when you're getting estimates, get a complete inventory. This is it. This is the biggest thing. Don't be vague with the information you give them.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, before you even call moving companies, get a complete inventory list of everything, even pictures. If you take pictures of every room and send it to them, along with any requirements or specific details that you think might be important, because a big issue that happens, and I have to deal with it because this is how I have to dig down when I'm giving estimates. People won't tell you everything that they have, and it makes it so that the planning is harder and the estimate is not as accurate. So when someone's hiring a moving company, if they have that inventory list, and not just the big things, like don't just say like
couch.
Here, I have a sofa, TV, and recliner. It has to be the side table, the lamps. Are you going to move the lamps in the car yourself, or do you want the movers to do it? Basically, just I'd say take a picture of every
And
room.
also picture, because I can see them saying, like, well, this was in the room. Like, no, it wasn't. Like, well, here's the picture of the room.
Because the price will get changed on you if the company doesn't have all the details, didn't ask you all the details, or you didn't give them to them. They should be asking, but a lot of times they won't. So if you're giving them all of the details up front, then there's no reason that the estimate should be wrong. And that's a common thing, because it's especially with local moving, it's an hourly rate. So if they're going off of what you told them, and you signed that estimate and saying, oh, yep, that's what I have, and it's not right, then they can change the price. And not necessarily even change the price. The price was going to be what it was from the start, because it's the job has to get done one way or another. But just so you know what it takes ahead of time, and to make sure they have enough guys, right size truck. Yeah,
It makes it a little easier. That's really good. See, I knew we were going to get somewhere with that, and we did. So let's move to some more entrepreneurial questions, man. So that being said, obviously you're a service-based company. You're not selling products necessarily. So how do you market your business and attract new customers in Western New York? And what strategies have you found most effective in growing your business?
Yeah. So I'd say right now we've gotten to a point where our SEO is really strong. So if you look up moving companies in Rochester, New York, we're on the front page for most of the variations of keywords. And so if someone's getting multiple estimates, they're going to probably be getting one from us.
Okay.
At least there's a high volume of people are going to. So we've gotten to that point. We've established ourselves to that point. When I started, there was even when we expanded from, like 2 trucks to consistently like 4 or 5 trucks in the summer, in a period of time. I think like 2019, around COVID time. I spent a lot of money on AdWords, and getting leads from Home Advisor, or just these random lead providers, and it screwed up my margins completely. But in hindsight, I can't say it wasn't worth it, because it gave us such a high volume of jobs that we are then getting referrals on those.
Yeah,
even today.
The word of mouth, it spreads. You did a good job, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're saying.
Which it may have taken longer, if I didn't, do all that spending on the advertising. But, in hindsight, it did help us get to where we are today. I spent a lot of money on the advertising, but the referrals, when it comes down to it, today we're spending very little on advertising, because of the referrals, the reviews that we, can really work on to keep the reviews up and good, and the SEO.
That's cool. So, like, obviously you had that one teacher that helped you out. You mentioned that in the beginning of the podcast
Yeah.
here. But is there any other people that have really been really help you? Because, like, I mean, at least when you sometimes, at least for me, my emotions can be this cloud judgment, and then someone just that's why I like having a mastermind group, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. But is there anybody that's really been like helpful to you? Did you hire a business coach? Did you have a couple of friends that are entrepreneurs that kind of helped you through finding your margins, your KPIs, that kind of give you ideas? Like, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? Like, or maybe a sounding board at all? Or did you, or it's okay if you admit it this way, were you just kind of on your own really for the first 8 years? You're like, I'm just trial and error, brother, because a lot of people have been there.
Yeah, I'd say most of the obstacles, or I don't know. There's a lot of. It's hard to pinpoint exactly all of it. I can say, my grandparents had a cleaning business after they retired, keep making some money.
Yeah.
And there's my dad, he's in business. He's more from the corporate side though, so it's his perspectives in business and aren't exactly applicable to me, but I'd say his mindset, he was an accountant, started as an accountant, now he's a broker. So he's got.
So he knows numbers.
Yeah, and he's a manager, so dealing with people, just attitude, work ethic. I got that from him, I think, and.
I always love hearing journeys, because, like, for me, I didn't even think about entrepreneurship until I started in sales, and I met a person who owned that office, and I just really fell in love with their character and who they were, and they really just embodied who I wanted to be as a man, really. And at 20 years old, obviously, you're more impressionable at that time too, and I that really started my entrepreneur journey. So I really love hearing people like, oh, like, was there a key person in you? Or sometimes they're just like, no, it was just me figuring it out on my own. I just love seeing the past of that.
Yeah, and there was also I had a relative who is kind of estranged at the moment, but when I spent a lot of time with him when I was coming of age, I guess, when I was like around 18, around when I started the company, and he could sell ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah.
He was like that type of.
Maybe that's why he's estranged now. Maybe he sold ice to the wrong.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, you're not exactly wrong.
Yeah.
And but what I learned from him is I was doing jobs in like New York City with him for like the DOT, and he wasn't even
like licensed
part
or
of
whatever.
not I think he had the license, but he wasn't even like part of the union, which is like a big thing down there. And what I learned was just like he would just go for it, even if maybe he didn't follow through all the time with his. I
know you're saying though, like, but you love the tenacity of like, I'm going for this and I'm figuring this out as I go.
It was like, well, just like I just realized if you just go for it, I mean, make sure you have your principles and make sure you have your what's the word I'm looking for? Just be a good person, be a good business person, but just go for it. I mean, if you look at the stories of founders and entrepreneurs in history, a lot of them weren't completely. Most of them, I'd say, weren't prepared for the things that they took on necessarily, but they made it happen because they put in the effort, they put in the creativity, so.
It's so good. So I want to stop there for a second for our listeners here, for those that are listening or watching this on our YouTube channel, because we're on YouTube. So if you like to see the people you're talking to, as you know, 80% of language is nonverbal, right? Mannerisms. If you want to see who you're talking to or who we have as guests here, check out our YouTube channel. But either way, who has been a huge person in your life, whether they're for a short period of time, long period of time, or they're related to you, doesn't matter. Have you had a chance to thank them? Have had a chance to thank them for their impact, that little small conversation that maybe they forgot about it, but you didn't. Like I always love to give a chance to thank people who are just in my life, who are part of my life, who are continuing to pour into me. So have you had a chance to do that? Or maybe you got to reconnect with them. Maybe it's time to not just thank them, but reconnect with them. So I just wanted to see if that meant anything too in terms of our listeners here. So that being said, Joe, how do you... we talked about the mastermind before we hit record here, and I know it's so funny you're talking about it because I own and run a mastermind group here in Buffalo, and you're in Rochester, and you kind of started your own small one and whatnot. What made you? Why and how and why'd you start it, and how's that going, and why is it important? I guess is another way to say it.
Yeah, well, I started with myself and my friend Lorenzo Guarini in Rochester, who he sells rings, so he's doing manufacturing to retail, e-commerce, wedding rings mainly, and so we bonded over business. We're best friends, because we both run businesses, and that's all we would do is that's what we bond over. So we talk about business, all the time. He has another friend, and so we who also runs a business, and we just decided, instead of just you and me talking about business all the time, let's bring someone else in, and just make it a bit more structured. Let's get to the bottom of
what's going on here.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we're all in different, slightly different, or not pretty. I'm very different from what he's doing, but
yeah, rings and moving are two different things. Yeah,
yeah.
One's a product, one's a service.
Yeah. So in that sense, it's helpful to be with people who are doing the same thing, because then you can share, notes directly. But business is business, even if it's, there's very different aspects to it. But in that way, each of us has very different skill sets, and our perspectives can be important, for what someone's going through. So
it is, and the biggest thing is sometimes most business owners feel alone. They feel like they're imposters. They feel like. Am I the only one that feels this way when I'm looking at the ceiling at night going, I got 18 things in my mind for tomorrow? Not that things are going bad, but you're just like, there's always something to figure out. There's always a fire to put out. There's always an opportunity. Do I take this opportunity? Do I scale? Do I go here? Do I move there? Is this too volatile? Am I making, and sometimes, a lot of times, again, speaking for me, I can make bad decisions based on fear sometimes, right? Or just, I should just take this move. But when you have a group of people, I call them board of directors, that's kind of like a mastermind, is
exactly.
You can filter, yeah. I would or wouldn't, right?
I mean, the concept of a mastermind is what a board of directors is, It's, but yeah.
It's so important. And so, that is one of the biggest things, especially for our listeners here, that I love. There's two things that really, really helped me is having a mastermind. And number two is having a coach. And coaches for different things. Sometimes you have coaches for scaling. Sometimes you have coaches for numbers. Sometimes you have coaches for staff. Sometimes you have coaches for creating an employee handbook for, anything. There's coaches for everything. Sometimes it's just about what's next. My business is scaled. It's great. But what's next for me? And life coaches, right, in a way. So I just think that is so important. I was wondering what that journey was with you, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, early on, I did use a coach for the moving industry.
Yeah.
I found him online, but
most are found online. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's not like a local person, but I got a lot of important, because I didn't work for a moving company before. I just knew make the customer happy, and whatever you have to do to make that happen. But finding this coach is Louis Massaro. I'm not sure if he still does it, probably, and I just got a lot of good notes from him. Operational stuff, how to organize, the sales process, how to organize, the scheduling of movers, just things here there. Maybe some stuff I already knew.
Yeah.
And other things that I did learn from him, I do differently now, but it was very helpful to find, find someone that
Someone has been there and done that.
exactly.
I mean, obviously, you know what? I love that you got somebody outside the area because sometimes we get stuck in our own ways coming from the same area. Sometimes it's so great to have people from different areas because I really do believe Western New York, and I hate, not to diss our own cities here, but we're 5 years behind, sometimes 10 years behind in technology and what's going on. And so, like, learning from somebody on the West Coast or across the world or whatever it is, it's so cool. Like, wait, that's what you do down there? Oh, I didn't know that existed yet. And it's really cool to hear that. So, Joe, I don't know, we talked a little bit about this before we hit record here, but, tell me about the Rochester market because I found out, for those to catch up on our conversation, because we didn't hit record yet, but when I expanded Real Producers, which is a magazine that goes to the top 300 realtors in Buffalo, I expanded into Rochester and started, which is how we met, Joe. A realtor referred me to you, and they said, oh, Joe's awesome. You got to connect with him. And here we are, 5-6 months later. But I realized that Rochester was a different egg, and I thought it'd be the same. Blue-collar cities, right? They have some glory like Kodak, right? And then that kind of fell. Same thing with us, like, all that stuff. And I thought, oh, this is going to be pretty simple. Same city, just a distant cousin you see on the holidays. And I found out that Rochester really is different than Buffalo. And I don't know if I can put my finger on it because I don't live there. I just know with clients and meeting with realtors. And the realtors were actually been really great to connect with. But I noticed in business-wise, it's just different. So I was wondering for you, do you have any description of that? I know you're not like, in Buffalo, like every single day working with them, you're working with clients like I am. But what I wrote down here basically, I want to make sure I say this right here, is what differences do you see between Buffalo and Rochester, all Western New York, but different cities? What should entrepreneurs know about trying to break into maybe Rochester from Buffalo? I know it's tough because that's a very general census here, but anything that kind of sticks out to you at all since you are from Rochester?
I say, so coming from my perspective, I haven't seen a huge difference. From my perspective as a mover, it's very similar. But it's a lot bigger of an area.
Which one's bigger of an area?
Buffalo.
Buffalo, okay.
Buffalo. It's a bigger area, more and a bit more people. But I guess my perspective on that is just from like an operational sense of like when you're trying to go to a different city. I don't know if that's what you're looking for or relevant, but
I don't know what I'm looking for. I was just wondering what's different. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my perception from. Because, and we make money off advertising, so maybe it's just a different feel in there. I was just wondering. It was a tougher launch than I expected, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, maybe because you don't know me in Rochester as much, people in Buffalo kind of know, not that everybody knows me, but you get the idea. Maybe that was it. But I just found out that Rochester is just a little different on how they view things. And I went, this is so interesting. Like, we obviously launched and we're fine now, but it just took me a little harder push than I anticipated.
Yeah, I'd say, I did, so the work we do in Buffalo, I got lucky kind of because I got some construction, there's some construction project. I was working with people in Rochester, and they also have some work in Buffalo. And then I also have a lot of family out here. So that's a huge help. So I've been getting some referrals from family and doing a good job for them that send someone else over. But I don't know. I'd say I do know that my SEO did not work. I set up this little, SEO plan, or had someone do a bit of SEO in Buffalo. It did not work very well. I think I need to put more effort into it. So I've gotten lucky where I'm getting jobs in Buffalo, but if I really want to do work in Buffalo, I'm going to have to put some more time and energy into it. And also I need to find some trusted guys out here where that know the area. Maybe know that, like, I don't know the difference between zip codes. That can make a difference when you're marketing. So I need to get, when I do make a bigger push into Buffalo, it's going to have to be, I'm going to make better relationships there.
Joe, for those that want to connect with you, right? Maybe they want to network with somebody in Rochester. Maybe they want to connect with you. Maybe they love who you are as a person. Or maybe they have a question they want to ask you. What is the best way for someone to get a hold of you, of whatever you feel comfortable? Some people give out just their email. Some people give out their cell phone. Some people just give out, like, whatever you feel comfortable, man. Like, just in case somebody wants to connect with you. I always want to give people the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, sure. My cell phone is 585-766-4890. It's Joe at joesmovingco.com. And I love talking to business owners, and I've got some projects I'm working on. I do have, I got some software I'm making. I I do want to start doing some more work in Buffalo, and I just like to talk about business. So if anyone has any questions, or if you need help hiring a moving company, I can do that. It's a quick conversation. I can just give you some tips or things like that.
Very cool. Well, Joe, thanks for joining us today, brother.
Yeah, thank you.